Tonight on Joynews Prime, President Akufo-Addo delivers his fourth State of the Nation address, outlining the significant strides the country has made in the 3 years he's been in power.
This is a massive vote of confidence in the current management of the economy, as best illustrated by Ghana's successful issue of the longest dated Eurobond ever issued by a sub-Saharan African country.
He promised customers of defunct savings and loans companies will be paid all their locked-up deposits from Monday.
Depositors of the savings and loans and microfinance institutions, including DKM, which collapsed in 2015, will receive 100% of their deposits too once the validation exercise is concluded.
The affected customers, meanwhile, say they are interested in how the payment will be made.
Migrate here, bank for an say all procedure nana or more fast, and never hire kakra. Say, Wakasa Monday near him, do obey a mine.
The time given for the payment to be effective or to be effected is not that far.
Elsewhere, customers of microfinance companies owned by Pastor Kelvin Kobria crossed him again as he made his way to court in Takwa. Meanwhile, in business,
Deputy Finance Minister on the modalities for payments, even as the savings and loans companies express optimism confidence will be restored in the sector once customers of the defunct companies begin receiving their funds.
We are happy that some money has been made available, and therefore we are expecting that customers will receive all their monies so that everybody will be happy.
Still on the State of the Nation address, the President had to deliver his address to a chamber that was half full after the minority walked out. The minority has justified the decision to vacate the chamber.
In black to protest imminent threats to the sustenance of multi-party constitutional democracy and to reject the tyrannical tendencies of President Nana Addo Dankwa.
It turned out some of the minority MPs who walked out of the chamber followed the address all the same, albeit from the parliamentary offices.
As you can see, I'm in my office listening to the address being given by the President. So that's what I've been doing, listening to the President in my office.
If you really wanted to listen to him, wouldn't it have worked better you sitting in the chamber and listening to him than to walk away to your office to come listen to him here?
Well, of course, that's a decision we in a minority took.
Also in the bulletin, counsel for Techiman's suspected fake lawyer maintains his client is innocent of the charges.
He has told me that he is not guilty of the offense charged.
I'm Israel, and Joynews Prime comes to you live from the Joynews studio at Kokomlimli here in Accra with digital address GA099-2539, where we're celebrating 25 years of fearless journalism. Stay tuned in. President Akufo-Addo on Thursday highlighted his government's achievements in the 3 years he's been in power. Delivering his fourth State of the Nation address in Parliament, he said Ghana is in good health and in good hands. He enumerated achievements in education, agriculture, and the economy.
A look at the national budget gives a clear indication of where our priority lies, and it is with education. The pre-tertiary education bill, currently before Parliament, defines the priorities. Basic education is being redefined to include senior high school, and this covers vocational, agricultural, and technical schools. The emphasis is aggressively to promote science, technology, and engineering and mathematics, STEM education, across all levels of the education system. I'm aware that some of the teacher unions have concerns over the proposed legislation. I would like to add my voice to that of Parliament in encouraging the unions to deepen their engagement with the Ministry of Education in order to find a consensus that will enable the bill to go forward in peace. Agriculture was very much in the doldrums when we came into office, with a growth rate of 2.9%. We introduced the program for planting for food and jobs and set about to make agriculture an attractive profession. We invested resources, expertise, and time, and the results have been impressive and rewarding. Growth rate in 2016 was 6.1%, and this increased to 6.4% last year. Increased production and high yields of some foodstuffs like maize, rice, sorghum, groundnuts, soybean, cowpea, cassava, and plantain have led to a decrease in the wholesale prices in market centers in major food-producing areas. The international investor community has recognized this development, resulting in Ghana today being the largest recipient of foreign direct investment in West Africa. The sovereign credit ratings agencies have upgraded our ratings and also improved the outlook for this year, notwithstanding the fact that it is an election year. This is a massive vote of confidence in the current management of the economy, as best illustrated by Ghana's successful issue of the longest dated Eurobond ever issued by a sub-Saharan African country, with investors placing 15 billion United States dollars of orders for Ghana's 41-year Eurobond.
President Akufo-Addo reiterated his government's commitment to rooting out galamsey, warning no one found culpable will be spared. He said the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, together with Operation Vanguard, are determined to disrupt galamsey operations by confiscating equipment used, adding that thousands of the machines used to scoop the riverbed have been destroyed. On the missing excavators, he says that matter will also be dealt with.
The Inter-Ministerial Committee, along with Operation Vanguard, were determined to disrupt galamsey activities by confiscating equipment that were employed in these activities. In this regard, 12,000 Shangfan machines that go on the river and scoop up the riverbed were seized and destroyed on site. Some excavators were also seized, and a number of them have gone missing. The police have arrested and charged some of the alleged culprits, and investigations are ongoing. No one involved will be shielded, no matter what their positions or political colors are.
He described as a success the work of Operation Vanguard in fighting the illegal mining menace.
The mention of Operation Vanguard would seem to be at the appropriate time to deal with the subject of galamsey, the popular name that has been coined for illegal mining. The Inter-Ministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining has been working hard and has had some successes. Under the auspices of this committee, the Ministry of Local Government has formulated and is implementing the Alternative Livelihood Program in 35 severely affected galamsey districts across the country.
On the coronavirus outbreak, President Nana Akufo-Addo assured Ghanaian students trapped in the Chinese city where it all started they will be evacuated back home if need be. He said government had not abandoned them.
Today, China is unfortunately battling an outbreak of the deadly COVID-19 virus. We sympathize with the people of China at this time of great trouble. I have written to President Xi Jinping to convey to the government and the people of China the solidarity and sympathy of the compassionate people of Ghana. We trust that with the tough decisions being implemented to curb the spread of the virus, this nightmare will be over, and soon they will recover from its devastating social and economic impact. There is a sizable Ghanaian community in China, and our government, through our embassy, has been working with the Chinese authorities to find the best way to deal with this situation. The Ghanaian community includes 4,760 students out of which 300 students are studying in Hubei province and 200 in the city of Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak. We have a delicate situation on our hands, Mr. Speaker, and it does not benefit anybody to try to score points by introducing ill-judged politics into this ongoing medical conundrum and humanitarian tragedy. Most of these students are on Chinese government scholarships, and since the crisis started, the Chinese government has done its best to keep them supplied with food and other logistics. The Ghana government, through its mission, also supplies logistics, and the embassy has given, so far, 500 United States dollars to each student. However, we know that no amount of logistics will make up for the extreme stress and trauma that these young people are going through, and I treat members of this honorable House to set an example by helping to pour oil over troubled waters instead of instigating tension and spreading fear and panic among the young people. The government is in constant touch with experts on the subject, who advise that the basic principle of public health is to confine the disease to the area of its origin. But we have not ruled out the option of evacuating the students from Wuhan if that becomes necessary. We have put in place measures to ensure that their evacuation back into Ghana, if it happens, does not lead to the dissemination of fear and panic amongst the general population.
Now, customers of defunct microfinance and savings and loans companies will be paid all their locked-up funds from next Monday, February 24. The President, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, disclosed this in Parliament when he presented the 2020 State of the Nation address on Thursday. He said already some 5 billion cedis has been made available to the receiver to enable the payments to begin.
Mr. Speaker, we inherited a collapsing financial sector that has led to failing banks and considerable agony to many people. The government is having to conjure 13 billion cedis to pay the 4.6 million affected customers of the banks. This is money that we can ill afford, and which would have gone to fund the many things that our communities are crying for. Properly utilized, 13 billion Ghana cedis would work wonders with our perennial infrastructure deficit. But we did think long and hard about paying all the customers of the failed banks, and we believe we made the right decision. I would like to repeat that all depositors of the savings and loans and microfinance institutions, including DKM, which collapsed in 2015, will receive 100% of their deposits too once the validation exercise is concluded. And I'm informed that the receiver of the savings and loans and microfinance institutions will begin on Monday, the 24th of February, making payments to their customers. These monies, totaling 5 billion cedis, being in addition to 13 billion cedis being paid to the customers of the failed bank.
The coalition of affected savings and loans customers, meanwhile, want the receiver of the collapsed institutions to communicate modalities for payment of investor deposits. They say making the details public will ensure an effective payment process. Some of the affected customers have already been paid a part of their funds through the newly formed Consolidated Bank Ghana, and the coalition is proposing that its members be absorbed by the bank and the amount owed each individual credited to the account.
Though this is not the first time he said that. He said it in his New Year, Christmas and New Year address on the 24th of December last year. And then he came to reiterate it again during his encounter with the Christian Council executives. Then the finance minister also said same on the 8th February, that's during news file on Joynews TV with Samson Ladi Ayenini. And then the vice president also during the town hall meeting at Kenya University also reiterated that point. But in all these, timelines were not given. No specific date was given during all those statements and encounters. But this is the first time a specific date has been attached to such a promise. And because of that, we've been very happy. And one thing too that has made us very happy is that the time given for the payment to be effective, or to be effected, is not that far.
No. Now the issue say, you name say omo migrate here akọ bank fufuro ana say old procedure na omo faso ano na be higher kakra because me fi say nipa ne do so nti say won say wakasa Monday na ehwe nanim de obeya man no and say nyina papa no ye beda na sipa.
So this one here believes that whatever the president has said today, he will surely make sure that it comes to pass, but he's quite skeptical about the mode of payment because they haven't received any communication from the receiver yet, and that is what they expect now, that by Monday at least there should be a communication so they know where they are taking their monies from.
Some are buying the kind. He say you will GDA in Pipe, I just say obey Chamayan. I say, yeah, I assume you may be a point home. I was saying to me, a juma. Now we see our boy, no, alcohol, baby, and I see a lucky. Make a problem, you must have 2 billion alcohol of extra light.
Loans. He works on heavy duty machinery and heavy duty vehicle, and about 200,000 of the money that he had gathered are now locked up in the First Allied. That's one of the microfinance companies that encounters some challenges here in Ashanti region. So he's very expectant of the promise that the president has made today.
First Allied, they are 1,005. Nam the turn on Mamma Tom, Medina Quan, the creation part, no, the telecast, no. There's a reading Tiamu, say me a boy will be stored.
So we will shortly be hearing, in business, we'll be hearing from Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng on the modalities for payments of the funds of the affected customers of the microfinance and savings and loans companies. But elsewhere, or in a related development, customers of investment companies owned by the founder of the Zoe Outreach Embassy Church have once again assaulted the pastor as he drove to court in Takwa on Thursday. Kelvin Kobri was to appear before the Takwa District Court to respond to a suit against him for allegedly issuing Dutch checks as he attempted to, as an eyewitness put, to sneak into the court. Aggrieved customers who had laid siege on the road prevented him from going to court as planned. This is the second time the aggrieved customers have assaulted the pastor as he attempted to get to the same court. You're watching Joynews Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. The minority have justified their decision to vacate the chamber as the president was about to deliver his State of the Nation address today.
We're in black to protest imminent threats to the sustenance of multi-party constitutional democracy and to reject the tyrannical tendencies of President Nana Addo Dankwa.
We'll be telling you what the MPs were up to when they left the chamber. Do stay tuned in. We'll be back in a bit. Now, the minority in Parliament Thursday walked out, fulfilling an earlier promise to boycott the 2020 State of the Nation address. Clad in black, the men and women of the opposition National Democratic Congress protested what they say is government's failure to release some 5% of the District Assembly's common fund. Although they were in the House in their numbers, as soon as the national anthem was sung and President Akufo-Addo took to his seat, the MPs walked out. They left behind placards with inscriptions questioning, among others, government support of the Electoral Commission's decision to compile a new register for the December polls.
correct one.
Well, the minority has explained Thursday's walkout as the president entered the chamber to deliver his State of the Nation address was provoked by the presence of a heavily armed police contingent. The action has been widely condemned by members on the majority side who have described it as an act in bad faith. But speaking exclusively to Joynews, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu said many of the officers making up the contingent were former vigilante members.
As you notice, were in black to protest imminent threats to the sustenance of multi-party constitutional democracy and to reject the tyrannical tendencies of President Nana Addo Dankwa and to reject his attempt to interfere with the Electoral Commission to compile a voter register that, as cautiously warned by the U.S. State Department, may lead to voter suppression, particularly in the NDC strongholds. We are particularly alarmed as the President's refusal to recommend the recommendations of the Emil Short Commission report arising out of the Ayawasu West Wagon by-election in January 2019. The President continues to shield his indicted appointees, even as that threatens the peace and stability of our country and its democracy. I mean, what happened in Ayawasu West Wagon was state-sponsored terrorism, when you have people use state authority, state resources, state power to intimidate a political opponent. It's not the same thing as justifying an MPP-NDC rivalry or conflict or fight that may end regrettably or unfortunately. But state-sponsored. Can you imagine what will happen to the state and republic? December 7, 2020, if we have a repeat of that in just parts of the country or substantial parts of the country, and we are particularly concerned that many of their vigilantes have found their way into the security agencies, and we doubt whether their loyalty will be to the state or to the new patriotic party. If you are comfortable with vigilante groups going into the Ghana Police Service, God bless you. If you are comfortable with the continuous closure of radio, FM station and television station, and you are dear to democracy, God bless you.
With the vigilante groups that you say have infiltrated the security services, the Peace Council is currently taking part in talks between the NDC and the MPP to root out these groups. The NDC has refused to sign the document.
Yeah, because of the insincerity associated with some of these dialogue processes. You openly see MPP vigilantes being absorbed. Today, you didn't see them as you were entering. They offended us off to walk out.
So it's because of them that you walked out?
You saw the SWAT group. You saw them. They were deployed. We can't accept them.
So is it because of the presence of the SWAT group that you walked out?
It is part of our reason. We elevated it and we considered it, but when we saw them, then we say our democracy is in danger.
Now, it turned out that minority MPs followed the address all the same, with some spending time in the offices watching the president on television, whilst others left the premises with the offices locked. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo visited some of them.
President is delivering the State of the Nation address. Why are you not in the chamber?
Yeah, as a minority, we decided that we'll walk out of the SONA.
for a number of reasons. That's why after the national anthem, we decided to go out. Our walking out is a protest for Ghanaians to know that this nation, the democracy that we have is under serious threat. And if we don't begin this way, I don't think we will have a future for this country.
How will a walkout of the president's address fix this concern that you raised?
Yeah, it's a message we are sending to the president that we are representing the people, and the people are saying what you are doing is not good. So you must change your position. And that is what the message we want to go out to the president.
So we're continuing our message to the offices of MPs to find out what they are doing. Richard Koshiga is the MP for the Keta constituency. So what have you been doing over the last hour or so since you, the minority, walked out of the chamber?
Well, as you can see, I'm in my office listening to the address being given by the president. So that's what I've been doing, listening to the president in my office.
If you really wanted to listen to him, wouldn't it have worked better you sitting in the chamber and listening to him than to walk away to your office to come listen to him?
Well, of course, that's a decision we in a minority took, not to be in the chamber, by way of protest and to register our displeasure of the happenings in our country.
I've come to the office of the Member of Parliament for Odododi Odio Neil Antivandapoy. Let's see what's happening here. Oops. Well, the office is closed, but I can hear the television in the background. Is he here or he's out? Well, maybe he's not here.
Right, you're watching Joynews. We're taking a break. Let's still ahead in the bulletin. We have business coming up. We have what the president has been saying as far as the economy is concerned, and then we're going to get some reactions from the savings and loans companies. Do stay tuned in. We'll be back in a minute. Right, it's time for business, and Sandra is here. Sandra, one of the exciting things that came out of the president's State of the Nation address was the fact that the customers of the defunct savings and loans companies will be receiving the locked up funds.
Exactly.
And apparently it excites the savings and loans companies
Association as well. Yeah. And you're happy that the money is coming finally. We'll see what.
One of the questions, though, I have is what would be the impact of about 5 billion cedis being released into the economy?
Well, the argument is that
exactly.
The argument is that, I mean, prior to this whole exercise, a lot of people had lost confidence in the banking sector, and so once people start receiving their monies, it brings back confidence.
Oh, well and good for the confidence bit, but I mean, there will be implications for inflation and the rest.
Oh, yeah, that's yes.
Okay, all right.
All right, so let's talk about business. Now, my name is Sandra Esinama, celebrating 25 years of joy, and this is the business news. Deputy Minister for Finance, Kweku Kwarteng, says work has already begun on the processes to aid payment of depositors of defunct financial institutions. This follows an official request by the President for the ministry to take necessary steps in clearing all depositors. He tells Joy Business they're committed to ensure that everyone is paid. Here's a report.
Government has taken it upon itself to settle all aggrieved customers of the various defunct financial institutions before the end of the year. Addressing Parliament on the State of the Nation, the President said 5 billion cedis will be used from next week to settle some depositors of microfinance institutions and savings and loans companies that have gone down. The idea behind this payment, according to Deputy Minister of Finance, Kweku Kwarteng, is to ensure that there is maximum confidence in the financial sector.
The government's position is that government pays 100% of the value of what the depositors put in those failed financial institutions. As a Ministry of Finance, we are preparing to do this. We will comply with the dates he set, but essentially we will do so after the validation has been completed.
Mr. Kwarteng also assured that funds have been provided for the payment, but additional funds will be raised where necessary.
Yes, there is space for this, but we would look at what gap will arise in terms of available resources for this particular expenditure and the real extent of the expenditure. We would look at the gap and see how we will fill it. But the important thing for depositors is that government has made a decision to pay everybody.
So far, government has disclosed that the cost of the financial sector cleanup is around 13 billion cedis. Eben Sabotage report for Joy Business.
Meanwhile, the Association of Savings and Loans Companies has described as adequate the amount provided for paying depositors of defunct institution. Cheneboakwa Kondria Boache is the executive secretary of the association.
Far better today than yesterday. Again, it also improved the liquidity position in the system. It will help people who are not paying their loans to also pay their loans. It will help people who are not saving to also save some elsewhere. And so we believe that the release of these funds is going to oil the whole system again to improve productivity. What we are interested in is the fact that anybody who has gone through the validation process receive his or her money. As to the quantum and all that, we can't verify, we can't confirm or disprove. And so we are happy that some money has been made available. And therefore we are expecting that customers will receive all their monies so that everybody will be happy doing business with any savings and loan company.
So a lot was said today about the financial sector in general during the President's State of the Nation's address. Clients of collapsed deposit-taking institutions having promised 100% payment of their locked-up funds upon validation, but conspicuously missing is the fund management firms. Why the silence on the industry and what are industry players saying? Let's hear from the group head of Data Bank, Kojo Adaimensa.
Well, I didn't listen to the address. I was in meetings, but if the president did say that, that's really good news. It gets people, expectant. But if he didn't mention anything within the fund management space, I would wonder why. Because I don't know if the promise is to do with only the commercial banking area, and because the regulator within the fund management industry hasn't finished the work that they have to do, so maybe they are not able to come out boldly to say what, because the licenses were revoked just in November 2019, and there's a lot of work that needs to go in to do the reconciliation and to check whether the veracity of claims and all that. So maybe that is why that wasn't explicitly mentioned, because on the banking sector cleanup, you recall, I mean, if you're talking as far back as DKM, that is a 2016, 2017 matter, and that's 3 years down the line before such a bold statement is being made. So if for our industry, the licenses were revoked in November, maybe before such a bold statement will be made, it may take some time, because there's a lot of work that has to go on to do the reconciliation and check veracities before you can come out and promise.
And from DKM days, is that a feasible thing that the president will want us to believe that it will happen?
I'm sure they know what they are talking about. I don't have all the numbers with me. I don't have all the facts with me. But it's a couple of billions of cedis I would envisage. So, yes, if the president has said that, I mean, we must hold him to his word.
All right, so we'll be having more on this. Philip Nanfu will be joining me on the second block of business for more on the fund management aspect of the industry. But also in Parliament, the president has been talking about the automobile firms that will be operating in the country. He actually promised that by the end of the year, we'll actually see most of them operating.
We extend our warm congratulations to the First Secretary General, Mr. Wamkele Meni, the young South African, and assure him that will give him our fullest cooperation to ensure he succeeds. Speaker, we launched the Ghana Automotive Development Policy in August last year, and it has so far attracted investment and commercial interest from some very big players, including Toyota, Volkswagen, Nissan, Renault, Hyundai, Sinotruk, and Suzuki. VW is building its plant in the North Industrial Area in Accra and is due to start production by the end of April. Sinotruk has begun assembling its trucks. Toyota is scheduled to start the assembly of vehicles in Tema in the last quarter of this year. We have high hopes for this new industry, which has come to join our own Kantanka.
Away from the State of the Nation address, we want to check how other stories fared today, and coming up next is a wrap of some local headline stories.
The Business and Financial Times reports an estimated 249 million Ghana cedis in tax revenue was recovered at the end of 2018 as a result of implementing the Petroleum Product Marking Scheme and field monitoring activities by the National Petroleum Authority. The amount was salvaged between 2013, when implementation of the scheme began, and 2018. The Ghana Statistical Service has disclosed that a new law to standardize weight, measurement, and determine accuracy in inflation figures is currently before Cabinet. According to the government statistician, Professor Samuel Enim, the law, which is awaiting approval for passage, will help in determining accurately the rate of inflation and should also make inflation figures reflect market conditions. The producer price inflation for all industries hit 13.3% in January 2020. This was a result of the mining and quarrying subsector, which witnessed a significant increase in inflation. According to figures from the Ghana Statistical Service, the mining and quarrying subsector recorded the highest year-on-year PPI rate of 32.2%, followed by the utility subsector with a 12.6% rate.
Thanks for watching the first part of Business. My name is Sandra S. and I'm back after Showbiz with more business news.
The Techiman Circuit Court, presided over by His Lordship Justice Alexander Graham, has denied a bail request for a suspected fake lawyer currently standing trial over perjury, for perjury, deceit of court, and by impersonating and defrauding by false pretense. The suspect, Idris Uyahia, appeared before the court on February 5, introducing himself as a counsel representing Osmanu Omaru and Ali Sambo, who were both standing trial for the offense of robbery and kidnapping. The accused is set to reappear on March 3, 2020, as a presiding judge awaits advice from the office of the Chief Justice. Anas Abid was at the court and came through with the following report.
So on the 5th of February this year, one Idris Uyahia, dressed in a lawyer's gown, a wig, and a babe, appeared before the Techiman Circuit Court, presided over by His Lordship Justice Alexander Graham. Introducing himself as a counsel representing Osmanu Omoru and one Ali Sambo, who are both standing trial for an offense of robbery and kidnapping. Mr. Idris Uyahia's demeanor raised suspicion and prompted the presiding judge, Justice Graham, to subject him to some series of questioning to ascertain the chamber he operates. The prosecuting officer informed the judge and the court that the suspect collected an amount of 25,000 Ghana cedis from the suspects who are standing trial involving the robbery and kidnapping case. The suspect was remanded in police custody and was set to reappear before the court today, the 20th of February 2020. Well, today, the prosecuting officer, Inspector F.K. Agbasa, was absent in court, and the presiding judge, His Lordship Alexander Graham, has adjourned the case to the 3rd of March 2020. His reason being that the prosecuting officer is currently not around, and so he have to hear from his side as well before taking a decision. Also, the case has been referred to the office of the Chief Justice, and the presiding judge is waiting for advice from the office of the Chief Justice. So we've been speaking to his defense counsel, lawyer Osu Ajman, on the proceedings today, and this is what he has been saying.
The prosecution requested the court to remand him to enable them complete or continue with their investigations. The court granted the application of the prosecution to remand him. So he was remanded, and the case was adjourned to today, which is the 20th of February. This morning we came to court. Unfortunately, the prosecutor was not in court, and as a result, my lord adjourned the case to the 3rd of March. Although I made the application that because his liberty is at stake, the court should grant him, bail, whether or not the prosecution was not in court. But the court says that they want the prosecution to be present before, the court could grant bail. So
you were pushing for a bail. Why? Any reason why you wanted?
Yes, I was pushing for bail because the man has not been convicted yet, right? It means constitutionally, he's presumed innocent until he has been found guilty after trial or until he has pleaded guilty himself. So it's lawfully presumed that he is innocent. And if he is innocent, then his liberty should be given to him. That is, he should be admitted to bail.
Asked if he's confident his client will walk freely after this particular hearing, lawyer Osu Ajman has this to say.
Well, I am not the court. It's the court which determines the guilt or otherwise of an accused person, right? Yes, it doesn't lie in my mouth to say whether he will be guilty or not guilty. That should be left to the court to determine after trial or after he himself maybe has pleaded guilty.
As his lawyer, you should be able to tell whether he will...
Very well, he has told me that he is not guilty of the offense charged.
So standing by that.
Well, that's what he says, right? So we leave it to the court to try.
The suspect, Idrisu Yaya, is currently standing trial on 3 different charges. 1, perjury. 2, personation. And 3, defrauding by false pretense. And that is a charge being leveled against him by family of the 2 suspects who are standing trial in relation to the kidnapping and robbery case. So from the Techiman Circuit Court, I am Anas Sabit for Joynews.
We're taking a break to bring you showbiz next. Stay tuned in. Showbiz and Noella Karinyale is here. Hello, Noella.
Hi, Israel.
All right. Did you take something from President of the Nation address?
Oh, of course I did. And for the first time, he began his address with the showbiz sector, I mean the creative arts sector, I should say. And among other things, he pledged his commitment to doing more for our sector.
One of the major beneficiaries of the year of return was the creative arts industry. Our commitment to the development of Ghana's creative arts industry is absolute. I inaugurated in December last year the National Film Authority, whose function it is to supervise an economically self-sustaining and culturally conscious film industry in the country. The Creative Arts Industry Bill has been presented to Cabinet for consideration, and once passed by Parliament, the Act will establish the Creative Arts Fund and an agency to promote the industry. Government has also reaffirmed its commitment to the growth of the industry by commencing the construction of the very first senior high school in Ghana dedicated solely to the development of the creative arts industry. I cut the sword for this construction in Kumasi again in December last year. We are determined to do more. But we are not yet done. We're building on the foundations of the year of return to a new level. The next stage of our re-engagement with the African diaspora with the theme, Beyond the Return. The government is seeking to build on the success, and we're putting measures in place to take us beyond the return. The Ministry of Tourism, under its eloquent leader, the Honorable Barbara Oting Jesse, Member of Parliament for Prestia Huni Valley, and the rejuvenated Ghana Tourism Authority, under its dynamic Chief Executive, Akwesi Agyeman, are heading the charge to make our country an attractive and irresistible destination, a place of pilgrimage, a nation that everyone with a hint of African blood must visit at least once in their lifetime.
Right, so it turned out the president also gave special shout-outs to Boris Kujo and Bojoma St. John
for the role they played in the Full Circle Festival. But I saw for some reactions from, showbiz people. And Rexuma is simply disappointed in the president's address. He says the president shouldn't be promising people in his last term in office. And Arnold Asamabedu, commended him for beginning his address with the creative arts sector. But
there's a but.
There's a but.
There's nothing new. For what the president said now and what they even said last year, this is the last year of his tenure. So for him to say what he's saying, there's nothing new because you're talking about setting up an SHS for creative arts. Cutting sword, everybody can cut sword. You cut a sword, and even when you cut the sword, how many months now? And what has happened? These are all political stuff. The most important thing is when President Akufo-Addo was coming, he promised us ultra-modern national theaters in all the regions. So right now, Kumasi, if you are going to do any big show in Kumasi, there is no space, there's no venue for you to do anything in Kumasi, the second capital of Ghana. Kumasi is supposed to be your stronghold. You couldn't do one in Kumasi. So what are they talking about? You promised 10, you couldn't do one. I'm disappointed, honestly speaking. The only thing that he did that perhaps I'll say enlightened our industry a bit is the year of return. It was visible. Everybody saw what it did. Creative Arts Bill has been in the parliament for how long? And it's still there. We have 10 months or 9 months election, and that's still promising.
I think it's refreshing to actually have the president and the scriptwriters mention the creative arts sector as one of the first items in the address. Usually, we do not have creative arts sector being mentioned. Usually, it's at the bottom or in the middle. So for him to actually mention us at the top of one of the items, I think that's quite refreshing. The president was in his frame of mind. He was okay to actually gloat over the year of return as a big achievement. And there's no qualms about it. I mean, everybody would attest to the fact that the year of return actually projected Ghana in a very good light. However, for us as in the industry, the establishment of the Film Act is a good stride, but it doesn't solve our problems. I mean, establishing it is one thing, ensuring that the systems and the structures shrouding that authority works is also another thing. And so we will expect that it is well executed and that to be properly structured and the systems will run to see the elevation of our film industry. Then he also goes on to talk about the fact that the Creative Arts Bill is still gathering dust in Parliament. For me, I think this is the lowest point.
At Cabinet, actually.
In Cabinet. You see, the confusion, I'm not surprised you are mentioning this, or I'm not surprised, because see, if you go back and check the last 2 years and the budget reading, the commentary has been the fact that it is in Parliament. And so if the President now comes to tell us that it's in Cabinet for consideration to go back to Parliament, for how long are we going to have this narrative? And for me, again, I will say without any fear or favor that is the lowest point. For us in the creative arts sector, we expect the bill to be passed.
All right, so for Rex, it's all about the national theatres. Yeah. And for Arnold, pass the creative arts bill. And that'd be official.
Okay, thank you very much, Noella, for bringing us more news on the Joynews channel. Stay tuned in. State prosecutors have filed documents detailing the specific roles 10 persons played in an alleged plot to overthrow the state. This is the bail of indictment which the defense lawyers have over the past months been urging the state to make available. The Sanitation District Court on Thursday set March 3 as the date for committal proceedings as it dismissed another application filed by defense lawyers. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has the rest of the story.
The committal proceedings is the stage of the case where prosecutors explain how each of the accused persons participated in the alleged crime and the evidence confirming this. The district court would then be invited to determine whether it's sufficient to merit ordering that they appear before a high court for trial. The state on Thursday dropped the charges against a weapon mechanic at the Ghana Armed Forces, Gershon Akpa, but maintained the case against 9 others. A civilian employee of the Armed Forces Regiment, Johannes Zipi, has meanwhile been arrested and charged. This brings the number of accused persons set for the committal proceedings to 10. The 9 others standing trial are Frederick Yao Makpam, Donya Kafui, Bright Alan Debra, Colonel Kojo Gameli, Esther San, Lance Corporal Lee Solomon, Corporal Sedu Abubakar, Sylvester Akambiri, and Senior Police Officer ACP Agojo. Defense lawyer Victor Adaudu on Thursday made an application asking for permission of the district court to challenge its decision at the High Court. This is in respect of the ruling of the court on January 24 that described the request by Mr. Adaudu for the state's evidence as premature. Magistrate Eliano Boche dismissed the application, saying it had been filed outside the mandatory 14-day period allowed for such an appeal. The committal proceedings will meanwhile take place on March 3.
According to the WHO, smoking inhalation kills 7 million people annually. These people would have to endure long hours in smoky environment for commercial processes of groundnut, gari, and other foods. In an era of climate-smart technologies, an engineer has developed a smokeless and cheaper stove for such ventures. On Tech Thursday, Law Firm's Kwesi Debra speaks with Michael Kome of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology Consultancy Center.
Sand and food have never been the best of friends. For people like Asibi, however, it matters not because she's learned how to settle the differences. Without sand, her groundnut can't achieve a uniform roasting. She's been doing this for over 20 years. Though she roasts the groundnut on a smaller scale than others, due to limited resources, cost of charcoal remains a challenge. Michael Kome is tackling the problem with this smokeless stove. The stove consists of a stainless steel heating surface mounted on a brick structure.
The tip of the flame is the hottest and the cleanest, right? And the combustion chamber is designed based on the volume of your cooking pot. So she's using 30 kg of groundnut, and she's using 2.5 kg of firewood. 2.5 kg of firewood. So I know they've saved more than necessary.
The duration is impressive.
At what time did we start?
9:58.
What time did we end?
It's been 55 minutes now.
His friends Doris and Pfizer are impressed.
Cleaning is very, very easy. You just take it out and then wash and wipe it clean.
Mr. Kome believes the stove has more to offer.
Enhance our well-being generally in terms of health, in terms of income generation, in terms of climate mitigation.
For Joynews, Kwesi Debra.
We're saying Kumasi chop bar operators arrested for preparing food under insanitary conditions at their Safo marketing have been fined a total of 6,360 Ghana cedis after being convicted for the offense. Heavy-duty equipment dealer Mantrak was also fined 600 Ghana cedis for piled-up waste in its yard. Presiding judges of separate district courts also directed environmental officers to conduct further inspection of premises of the entities involved to ensure they have abated the nuisance. Lava Firm's Erastus Sasaridonko has more.
Look at the place. Huh? Look at the whole environment. Why do you cook?
The sanitation enforcement team on Tuesday issued court summons to these chop bar operators found to be preparing and selling food in the midst of unimaginably filthy environment. The team found foul-smelling, choked gutters filled with decomposing organic matter sitting at the center of these spaces which served as kitchen for these eateries. On the premises of some of the chop bars were stagnated, smelly water just distance away from where patrons sit to eat. Presiding judges, His Lordships Eric Nkansa and Her Lordship Aliata Said, convicted them on their own plea. They were handed fines ranging from 40 to 100 penalty units. They ordered further inspection of these places to confirm they have tidied up their workplaces or risk imprisonment. Enoch Nkansa is the prosecutor.
The sentences were that some of them were fined 100 penalty units each, others 50 penalty units each, and some 40 penalty units each, depending upon the severity of the offense committed. And delivering judgment, the judge was very surprised about people who handle food in such a poor environment, in such an insanitary environment, and said should they continue doing that, he will close all their food premises. All food handlers who operate in filthy environment, he will close all their food premises. Yeah.
Again, he has tasked you to do something. What is it?
He has asked the prosecution unit to visit the areas where they were brought to court to find out whether they have abated the nuisances or not. If they refuse to abate the nuisances, we should bring them back to court.
The operators admitted their crime and are willing to change.
I agree. I was told I did not cover the food. I have covered it now. You should come back and inspect it. I'm prepared to change. I'm cleaning my place now. I'll be done by Friday. The court has done the right thing. It should be replicated across the city.
Your job.
Rachel Awade, who represented Mantrak, was fined 600 Ghana cedis after she explained to the court that the piled up waste found on their premises has been cleared. Reporting for Joynews, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
The Ghana Integrity Initiative, GII, and Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition have identified what they describe as corruption risks that confront public officers. The risks, according to the two anti-graft bodies, are rampant and require urgent attention. A survey by the groups revealed these risks, which cut across the various sectors of the Ghanaian economy, are negatively affecting service delivery. Former Executive Director of GII and consultant on the project, Vitus Azim, has been highlighting some of these risks at a forum to assess the risks in governance, education, health, among others.
One of the key highlights is political patronage, nepotism and cronyism affecting service delivery, health, education. When people interfere with the recruitment and distribution of doctors and other health professionals, they deprive certain communities, certain areas from getting them, especially the less endowed areas. So if, for example, a doctor is posted to my place, Bongo district, and the doctor, somebody is able to influence the doctor to come back to Accra, then we don't have doctors. The same thing with teachers. If teachers don't, if you don't post enough teachers to some of the schools, it means that you are failing your effort to get SDG 4. Then another serious problem that involves a lot of money, loss of money, is collusion. Procurement people colluding with, let's say, businesses, contractors, and this. It can create a lot of, you can lose a lot of money as a result. And I give the example of vehicles. A diesel car and a petrol car don't cost the same amount. So if you award a contract for somebody to supply petrol cars, and then the fellow comes with diesel cars, or to supply diesel cars and someone comes with petrol cars, and you accept it, you are making the government to lose the quality of asking for a particular type of car. So specifications, as a result, failure to go by specifications due to collusion is another serious corruption risk. And then, of course, we talked about conflict of interest. Professionals having, in public service, having their private facilities as well. And sometimes referring people from the public service to the private service, or being absent or staying away from the public institutions and spending their time working at the private institutions. Meanwhile, they are paid at the public institutions. So these are some of the things that will make it difficult for us to achieve our SDGs 3 and 4.
Okay, and the expectation by submit or presenting this particular report to duty bearers is what?
The expectation is that if they pretend they do not know that these things are likely to happen, or if they, let's say they don't know that these things can happen, we are telling them that there are things that can happen, and so they need to put in place measures to ensure that they don't happen.
The two groups are recommending, among others, the institution of electronic processes to deal with procurement fraud in the public sector. The groups are also pushing for reforms in education, health, and justice delivery to deal with the high corruption risks that were discovered during the survey.
E-procurement should be adopted as a norm, as it will open up sourcing procedures and ensure fairness in the bidding process. The government must ensure that it certifies, licenses, and recruits procurement professionals for all its agencies, motivate and allow them to work without interference. And this came out from the interviews with all the procurement officers. We interviewed procurement officers, and they felt that they should be made professional and given the independence and motivation to work. On health, political interference should be avoided, not only in procurement, but also in health management, including staff recruitment and distribution. All public and semi-public health facilities should be compelled to accept the National Health Insurance card, while ensuring that the National Health Insurance pays its service providers timely. The National Health Insurance must impose stiff sanctions, including prosecution for malpractices in the utilization of the funds, such as making false claims and use of ghost patients. In education, the GES should conduct regular performance appraisals of teachers and empower sacred officers to effectively monitor teachers and digitalize staff attendance registers. CSOs must advocate seriously against the practice of using protocol lists for admissions into SSS and tertiary institutions, as it is not fair and provides opportunities for corruption.
The 4 reports launched Thursday include a document addressing corruption risk in achieving SDG 3 on health, SDG 4 on education, and SDG 16 on justice delivery in Ghana. The local divisional union of workers and all serving professional associations of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority are vowing to resist the eviction of some of their colleagues for the resettlement, or to make way for the resettlement of judges who have been affected by the building of the National Cathedral and other private developments. Speaking at a news conference in Accra, spokesperson of the group, William Wilberforce Amako, said the encroachment of lands owned by the GCAA will negatively affect the safety of flights, hence they will take action to protect the country's airspace.
Some of the reasons given for takeover of this land was the settlement of judges who have been affected by the building of National Cathedral, and others are, of course, for private development. This we deem unfair and unreasonable, and we are saying that we're going to resist and ensure that, the land given for the purposes of aviation are made for aviation purposes. Whilst chewing on this shocking revelation, in January 2020, GCA management again communicated to a section of staff living at Wireless that they have until May ending 2020 to vacate the staff residence at as the government, that's the new owner, intends to commence work. This we deem unfair and unreasonable, especially attempting to evict our technical staff from the place and bringing people who have been affected by National Cathedral. So indirectly, we are saying that the people there don't matter, or we are not equal. And we have placed these people there strategically because they handle the maintenance of the various equipment, the communication equipment and the navigational equipment there. So if they are not there, and at any point in time we have an issue with this equipment, wherever they are relocated is where we are going to call them from. But they were strategically positioned there for that purposes. This land, some judges has been affected by that land, and they are trying to relocate those judges on the aviation land, which we believe is not right, because this land was taken for aviation purposes, not just for, relocation of any other person.
Have you succeeded in ejecting your workers who are already on the land, or?
They've been given letters to that effect, and that is why we are taking this action. Yeah, so we are saying that we are not going to allow our staff to be evicted from the place.
The letters indicated that they should move from around what?
Yeah, they have given them up to May ending of this year, 2020.
To leave the land so they can start construction of houses for the judges, or what is that?
Yeah, for private development, and one of them is to resettle the judges.
The workers are also calling for the immediate removal of the board chairman of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, Air Commodore Rexford GM Aqua retired.
And we've written a letter to the minister. We've enumerated a lot of issues. I don't know whether I can go into details, but mostly we hardly talk about removal of board chairs, over the years. So when workers are calling for the removal, it means workers are not comfortable with him at all, the way he operates here. And there are a lot of issues.
Key amongst them?
Key amongst them is his interfering in day-to-day operations of civil aviation, which the board, are not supposed to. That's the key. I don't want to go into details. A whole staff saying they cannot work with somebody. I don't think government will still impose him on us. I don't think it would be wise for anybody to impose him on us. So just leave it like that.
Ghana Journalists Association is calling on all media houses across the country to constantly denounce political vigilantism and electoral violence with hashtags. This is part of the GJA's 14-month project aimed at eliminating political vigilantism and electoral violence in the country. The project will also engage all state institutions in finding ways to eliminate political vigilantism as the December polls draw closer. There's more in the following report.
In Ghana, political parties, whether in government or the opposition, are known to form and use vigilante groups. This has been highlighted in various reports, such as one put together by the Institute for Security Studies, as well as academic research papers. These vigilante groups are often violent, target opposition groups and public officials. The GJA Election 2020 project, according to project management consultant of the GJA, Kojo Imprim, will also engage the media and politicians on how to deal with issues this political campaigning season. There will also be visits to all 275 constituencies to engage with constituents on how to completely eliminate political vigilantism and electoral violence.
Basically, the idea is to establish what we call consultative platform with state institutions, for example, police, National Peace Council, NCCE, Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons, and other key stakeholders. Also, the private sector is very important to see how we can put in systematic measures to contribute to the national discourse on eliminating electoral violence in Ghana and also disbanning political vigilantism. We have a number of activities that we're going to do. One is a knowledge management for journalists to how to be circumspect in reportage on election, what we call confidence-sensitive reporting. Also, we're going to have a training for political commentators so that when they go on air and they run their commentary, they'll be more civil in what they say.
GJA President Afel Moni called on the media to rally the public against political vigilantism and electoral violence while making it a priority to educate them on the dangers of such acts.
Political vigilantism also speaks to the core issue of impunity and citizens' loss of confidence in state institutions. We wish to inform the entire nation as we warm up for election 2020 that the GJA stands firmly against political vigilantism and electoral violence, and with the launch of this project, we are declaring war on same. But our weapons for this warfare are not guns and cutlasses, as our opponents wield. They are pens, cameras, and microphones, which we will deploy to pull down every stronghold of political violence and vigilantism. We solemnly pledge never to flinch in our resolve to deal with these political monsters before they devour us.
The project, which began in December last year, will end in February 2021.
And we take a break to bring you more business. Stay tuned in.
Welcome back to Business. My name is Sandra S. and I'm Akan, and we certainly have a lot more to talk about on the President's State of the Nation's address. And President Akufo-Addo touched on various aspects of the financial sector during his State of the Nation's address to Parliament today. For instance, he promised 100% payment of locked-up funds upon validation. Interestingly, nothing was said about fund management firms What could be the possible reasons for this? Philip Namfuri joins me live in the studio here for more discussion on this. First of all, it's just good that I ask you of the general assessment to grade the president today.
Okay. I would say to grade the president, that would be above my pay grade.
I knew you were going
as
to say
usual,
that.
yes. I don't want to step into those waters. But I would say, I remember Daryl asked me this question earlier on Business Live, and I said, for me as an analyst and a researcher on our business desk, I follow the numbers on a regular basis. So for me, nothing new was in there in terms of the economic and financial parts. These are things that we have followed and I have kept an eye on. The only new thing was for me was the payments that will commence on Monday 24th February. Yes, so for me, in terms of newness of substance, that would be it. But in terms of the broader picture, I think it was okay. These are things that we followed, our economic credentials, the downward trend of inflation, interest rates. We follow them all the time.
Right, so it's nothing really new for you. Okay, so, but one key issue that was missing today has to do with the fund management firms and plans for the sector. We know that as of November last year, 53 fund management firms were, their licenses were revoked. Then we had SEC come in to promise that they were going to help with some payment of 20,000 cap that was placed on. Now, I'm just wondering why a lot was said about the financial sector today, but that was not touched. And I'm asking this because I think maybe whether it has to do with the fact that it's a risk-taking venture, and so they don't want to promise some sort of 100% payment to anybody.
Yeah, I would say, looking at what happened today, emphasis was placed on the deposit-taking institutions. And if you look at the legal framework of banks and specialized deposit-taking institutions, together with its own regulator, the Bank of Ghana, you realize that the legal framework spells out more clearly do's and don'ts and what powers the Bank of Ghana has. So in the Banking Act, Bank of Ghana has power to appoint a receiver. That's the Banks and Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act, 930. They have a power to appoint a receiver. But if you go to the Securities Exchange, the Securities Industry Act, that's 2016, 929, you realize that the powers of the SEC are somewhat limited. And you realize that when their sector went through its own form of a cleanup, they had to more or less pawn off the issue to the Registrar of Companies or Registrar General's Department or something of that sort. So you realize that I think it will boil down, one, to the legal framework, and two, you made a very good point there about
the risk involved with
the risk-taking. Depositing is also a risk, but quite minimal, in my opinion. And placing funds for investment, that carries some amount of risk. And one of the axioms of finance is high risk, high return. So you put in, you are looking for big bucks or big Ghana cedis. Don't expect everything to come out. It may or it may not.
I spoke earlier on the first part of business. We spoke to the group CEO of Data Bank, where he mentioned that, well, perhaps because currently there's a validation process ongoing for the fund management firms, and so maybe it's a strategic move not to move faster than expected. So do you see that playing here?
I would say, speaking to Kojo Diamonds, I would say as an industry player, he may be privy to information that we may not be, and it's something I always talk about, information asymmetry. We sitting on air here discussing, we may have some amount of information, granted, but as an industry player, he may be privy to certain amounts of information at a particular time that you and I may not be privy to. So listening to him speaking, I will say, okay, let's listen to the industry player. But it would be good at some point to hear from the SEC in terms of how much has been paid, how much has been realized.
And yeah, it's good you mentioned how much has been paid. You know the 20,000 cap that was placed on, there's so much ambiguity, and industry players have consistently questioned as to whether that 20,000 is going to individuals or is going to companies. We are not too sure of that yet.
I would also stay clear of it because I can always go and do the cross-check. But as to the specificity of it, whether it's going to individuals or not, I remember it was a 20,000 cap.
Right.
Actually, exactly individuals, corporates. I would say my memory is a bit foggy on there, but let's pray in the coming
So they were
days.
hoping to hear something on that, some sort of clarity. But I know you have a lot to talk about tonight on the business edition of PM Express with the State of the Nation's address.
Yes.
What should we expect, and who are your guests, astute guests?
Yes, so the economy is in focus. I have Dr. Ebo Texan, Econs Department, University of Ghana, and then I have Mr. Apia Dumako of CATS International, consumer. They are sort of like a consumer's group, but he's a man with many parts. So
Right.
I think our guests should expect viewers for something very good.
All right, good luck tonight. The PM Express Business Edition is at 9 p.m. on the Joynews channel. We're also free to air now, so you can catch that with Philip Namfuri and his guests. In other news tonight, thousands of households along the coastal belt of Ghana heavily depend on marine fishing over the years, there has been concerns of low catch due to illegal light fishing. This has not only left the once vibrant industry in a lifeline, but also threatened the livelihoods of citizens along the value chain. Charles Aite visited the Tama Harbour and to assess the situation and has filed this report.
It is a sunny morning, and the smell of fish from the Tema Fishing Harbour sets the day ready for a busy market. Some fishermen just landed from a long day's catch. I can count 6 of them pulling nets from the sea. It's been a slow catch day, they lament. The fish catch isn't like how it used to be in the past. I've been fishing for years now, and I'm serious when I tell you it's got serious. In the past, we had so much fish that we even leave some to escape to the seas. Now we kill and sell them all. It's much of a worry. Fish has now become very expensive. 78-year-old Achite Ama tells me. With a complete value chain at this harbour, any shortage of fish hits hard on fishermen, fishmongers, and even buyers.
When you visit the Tema Fishing Harbour, so many people come around here to purchase fishes, but you can see behind me, the entire market is kind of dull. Fishmongers here tell me that it's due to the low catch, which is having an impact on their sales and increasing prices in that regard.
Very, very expensive now.
How much is it going for?
So fish, we used to buy the whole basin for 350, maybe 280, but now it's 400.
People don't come like the way they are coming all that time. Now our markets are going down. So the fish don't come as they come.
Ghana's fishing industry is heavily reliant on the availability of premix fuel, with about 800 fishing boats scrambling for a tank of premix fuel. Ozumana Ashite sells premix fuel at the Tema Fishing Harbour. Fishermen are more than the available drums of premix fuel. Here at the Tema Fishing Harbour, we have over 800 fishermen scrambling over 50 barrels of premix. You can imagine what this brings: price wars and smuggling, he says. Even though Ghana's fisheries sector contributes close to 4.5% to annual GDP, threats such as illegal fishing, smuggling of premix, and climate change have left the sector on a life support.
Charles Aite with that report. Now, gold traded today at $59.32 a barrel. That's actually crude oil, and gold went for $1,618.70 an ounce. More details in Commodity News. Before we go here at Multimedia, we are celebrating 25 years of joy, and we are grateful for staying with us throughout the year. Keep watching Joy News and do log on to myjoyline.com/business. My name is Sandra Esenamap, and do have a great evening.
For staying with us on the Joy News Prime, I'm Gary Al Smith with the sport as we celebrate 25 years of media excellence. Today, delivering the State of the Nation address in Parliament, President Akufo-Addo expressed his delight with the return of Ghana football to normalcy. The president has encouraged Ghanaians to help the Ghana Football Association's Bring Back the Love campaign aimed at galvanizing support for the country's favorite pastime. The campaign was launched by the new administration led by President Kedu-Kraku.
It was with considerable reluctance, Mr. Speaker, the government had to intervene in the administration of football when we decided to dissolve the old GFA because of the bribery and corruption that engulfed its operation. Government worked with FIFA, established the Normalization Committee, and helped bring a new GFA into being. I'm happy to know that football, the passion of the nation, has returned to full normalcy following the election of the new president of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Kurt Okraku, and I congratulate him on his election. The Ghana Premier League has started, and let us all help bring back the love.
Spoke about the Ghana Premier League, and it's finished its match day 11 fixtures today. Bichem United gave us a very good game as they played against Liberty Professionals. That game finished 2-1 in favor of the team from the Middle Belt. Let's look at the highlights now.
Start. Here's Hafiz Konkoni for Bichem United. Hafiz Konkoni gets into the box looking for support. Twist and turn. It's still Hafiz Konkoni. Edu Kwabena flicks it back. That's the first goal. That's the first goal. Moro should deflected. And that was a good layoff. Moro swings one in. This is the second goal. It's an own goal. Looks like an own goal. We'll get a better view of that. Okay, Abdul Karim scored. Yep. Here we have a clear view of it. It was a teasing ball in there. And it's an own goal. It's an own goal. Cheba 4, lovely touch from Cheba 4. Can he score? He's got options. Wayo, George Anso. He goes past Asempa. George Anso gets the consolation for Liberty. That is shocking, but Cheba 4 does well, all on his own to work out and work the space out. Here's that shot. Gets off his man, but doesn't give up on it. There's no communication between defender and goalkeeper. Goalkeeper doesn't get there enough or get there in time.
So that happened in Bichem. Elsewhere, let's look at the results from the other game. In the Ghana Premier League today, Olympics were beaten by Brekum Chelsea, and King Faisal drew Legon Cities 1-1. So this is what the table looks like right now. Ash Gold still top of the league with 21 points. Mediama close on their heels with 20. Adriana Stars on 20. Brekum Chelsea on 20. Asante Kotoko on 18. And Elmina Sharks on 17. Very, very tight in the top 6, isn't it? Bichem United, who won today, are on 17 as well, tied with Sith. Wafa have 16. Hearts 16. Dreams 14. 14. And 14 for Allies and 11 Wonders. And in the top scorers chart, Victoria Adebayo from Niger leads with 11 goals. Yaya Mohammed is on 10. Prince Opokwajiman of Miriama is on 8. Prince Kwabnedu from Bichem, who played today, didn't score, on 7. King Faisal's Ibrahim Osman on 7 as well. Look out for the guy with the 8 goals now, because Prince Opokwajiman is the player we'll be talking about next. Now, the Ghana Premier League is a quarter of the way through, and there is a tight race for the top spot. Midiama Sporting Club have been lurking among the top 4 since the beginning of the season, thanks to some standout performers, including the striker Prince Opokwajiman. The local Black Stars player is among the league's top scorers, as you've just seen, and is looking forward to an even better season after spoke to him. Midiama are currently second on the Ghana Premier League table, having beaten Inter Allies in their last game. The Takwa-based club are seen as one of the favourites to win the title later in the year. To do that, they'd need goals, and the man currently doing a lot of that for them is Prince Opokwajiman. With 8 goals in 11 games, he's the club's top scorer. Prince credits his form, in part, to being a member of the local Black Stars team that finished second in the Wafu Cup of Nations in Senegal last year.
It's a great thing to travel with the national team, and even when we went to Senegal, you know, my dream was to get more playing time to sell myself or to export myself to the world. But you know, I got a little some opportunity to prove myself, but I did my best.
While at the tournament, Ajiman, who was then a player of Division 1 club New Dubiase, was aware of a big scramble for his signature by two top Ghana Premier League teams.
Even when we were in Ghana here, there were a lot of teams where they want my signature to be with them. But you know, I told them that they should give me some time, because I want to go and see what will happen there before I come, because I wasn't know, maybe I'll get a foreign contract or something like that. So I told them they should wait before when I go and come back, I'll know what to do.
But then when you came back, there was a fight between Mediama and Adriana for your signature.
Yes, I can see that. And even some of the teams, you know, big teams, the big teams in Ghana here, they want my signature, but I prefer to choose Mediama.
And despite being with the Mauves and Yellows for only a few months, he's been a consistent threat to opposition defenses, scoring against Ashgold, Kotoko, Karela, and twice against Hearts this season alone.
As a player, I want to win. I want to win, and I know my colleagues and my technical men, they all want to win. So what I have to tell my supporters is that it's not yet over. We are just on the 11th March, so they should keep on praying for us, and I know God will help us when we made our mind like we are all one people, we work as one, and when we make our mind together, I think we can go far. Yeah.
Prince Opoku Ajiman speaking there, and that's it for the sport. You can expect Mediama to keep gunning for the title and Prince to go for the Goal King title. I'm Gary Al Smith, and that's the sport for now. Hans Mensander will tell you all about the Europa League matches between Bruges and Manchester United and Olympiacos versus Arsenal when he comes up with Fanzone later.
All right, so the big story today has been the State of the Nation address by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and we posted that one of the videos from that, the NDC, the minority NDC MPs in Parliament boycotted, or they walked out of the chamber just before the President was about to deliver the State of the Nation address. But it turned out that what we found out, Joynews found out, that some of the MPs actually followed the address by staying in the offices to watch them, and we captured some of them doing that. We'll share the video with you in a bit.
President is delivering the State of the Nation address. Why are you not in the chamber?
Yeah, as a minority, we decided that we'll walk out of the SONA for a number of reasons. That's why after the national anthem, we decided to go out. Our walking out is a protest for Ghanaians to know that this nation, the democracy that we have is under serious threat. And if we don't begin this way, I don't think we will have a future for this country.
How will a walkout of the president's address fix this concern that you raised?
Yeah, it's a message we are sending to the president.
They send the message out there, all right, not just to the president, but to Ghanaians in general. And so we posted it on Facebook, and we have some comments coming in. Lots of the comments not very complimentary, but I'll take a few. Nana Samwa says, majority leaders said they later came back to collect their lunch, jollof and drinks. Let me see the replies that we have for that one. Okay, the replies are not coming. Let's see. Okay, what a shameless and reckless, clueless and visionless party. Never again, NDC. You went for your food later. Are you guys not ashamed of yourselves? Isaac says, indeed, some Ghanaians need common sense. And Mensa Rich says, this is the best and best ever minority Ghana so far. Best decision to demonstrate that Ghana is a democratic country. And Abiu says, the same people want power to rule again in Ghana. And Teacher Boatin says, you had the opportunity to watch him at Parliament, but you didn't. They don't know what they are doing. And Isu says, you were not voted in to be staging walkouts from Parliament House. And Michael Preco says, Naya Dieng, why will you leave a live event for TV, concert in Kwan? And then John Price says, walking out from Parliament and go watch TV. What is the... Okay. And Kojodia says here, there was this suitor who ran out of the presence of the lady only to take a peep through the window. All right, so that'll be it. Those are some of your comments. But you can get onto Facebook and get to read the rest of the comments there. Or you may want to post your comments as well. That'll be it for the Bulletin. I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good day.